proposing here is that there's a very clear thing that's been happening, as I'm sure we're all aware of students having powers slowly taken away from them, whether it be control of the EMU, control of the health center, whether it be, I don't know, like, it's pretty clear that there is a process of the institution relying on students not being active about using their power and asserting it, having it being taken away when they don't. Losing access to like actually have more student control over the appeals is so, so important. And it stands as, just them doing this stands as a testament of like them eroding away this illusion of shared governance that they've tried to push for so long. It's my proposal tonight to create a resolution both here and in the faculty senate later to assert pressure on the appellate board to change the system back to the 3-student system. I really look forward to working with you all on this. Let me know if you want to hop onto it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Blaze, for bringing this to Senate. I think it's a very issue that we should definitely be addressing with the student body. And I'll leave it to Operative.
Yeah, so I guess I'll make the motion. I move to form a working group to work on this resolution surrounding code of conducts and adding 3 students to the appeals board. If you want to join Teams meeting.
So much second Stevenson.
Thanks.
Motion made by Operative, seconded by Stevenson. Motion to form a working group on code of conduct. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. And the working group is formed. Thank you guys so much. And anyone who wants to join that working group or work on the resolution, just teams Bella or Blaze. And yeah. And then do we have any more now? Oh yes, Senator Stevenson.
Socialists of Color will be meeting this coming Monday at 7 p.m. in the MCC, which is EMU room 109. They're doing something a little different with jam sessions. If you have any questions, feel free to Teams me. Yeah, that's all.
Awesome. Thank you, Chair. Well, Bailey and Fisher.
Okay. I've talked about this the last 2 Senate meetings. Nathan J. Robinson is here. He was on campus today. I haven't met him yet, but I'm gonna meet him tomorrow because there are 2 events. One at 12 p.m. Convention 110. In media's role during political unrest. It's going to be a dialogue and Q&A. Me and Nathan J. Robinson, and then there's another event at 6:30 p.m. That's when the doors open in the Crater Lake room, EMU 145, where Nathan J. Robinson is going to do a bit of a talk and a Q&A there as well, but more focused on the book that he co-authored in 2024 with Noam Chomsky. And I can put that in the Teams. Thank you
so much.
Oh my God, drum roll, please. The Serve Fresh priorities have hit your inbox.
Yay.
They were emailed out at 9 a.m. sharp today. I appreciate everyone who has worked with our committee, who has come to our meetings, who has given us feedback. I appreciate the previous 2 committees and the Senate who we greatly used their references and used their recommendations to build ours. And finally, I appreciate all of my committee because you guys did an absolutely amazing job and I couldn't have done it without you. That being said, please read through them before next week and come next week with your comments and your thoughts and your concerns so we can address them and get them passed. If you would like to add anything prior to the meeting, I have been keeping track of things I've been getting right now and just adding them in comments on the doc so everyone can see the comments other people have suggested. You could do that, or you could just wait till the Senate meeting. All that being said, thank you very much. I'm so excited. I know that.
Yeah, so CARE, which is Coalition Against Environmental Racism, is having a mystery movie showing, a mystery film showing on Monday at 6 p.m. I'll pass around one of these flyers in each direction so you can take a picture but y'all should all consider coming. It's a mystery movie and it has nothing to do with what's on the flyer. I yield.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And if that's it for announcements, we will now move to public forum. Do we have any members of the public who wish to come speak? Awesome, come on up.
Hey everyone, my name is Luke. I am the Secretary of Organizing. If you don't know, that's Blaze's employee. So that was my boss. Great job. I think you did a good job. I think I'm gonna keep working for him. Jordan has told everyone they should come introduce themselves to Senate. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So if you see me at ASUO, say hi. I'd always love to talk. I'm also Secretary of Organizing. So if you guys are connected to any student orgs, especially related to the organizing sphere, and you want to talk ASUO, I know you guys obviously already are connected to that, but let me know. I'd love to talk. I'd love to say hi, and I'd love to get to know all of you. So that's it. I yield my time.
It's more of your fellow executives now I want to see evolve. Moving forward. Oh, I don't know.
Okay, hello, I'm coming forward as a member of the public. I've been meaning to address this for years, but my freshman year here, the pads that are free were winged, and since then they've become wingless, and I think that that is an atrocity. I'd like CFC and DFC to do something about it. Nobody can even wear those for that long because they leak so quickly. It's absolutely appalling. I hate it. And pads are very expensive, pads and tampons. The cardboard applicators are perfectly fine, but I just think I would strongly encourage getting winged pads instead. In all the resource centers too, they're also wingless. In the Women's Center, they're wingless, which is problematic. Y'all just wanted to cut the budget on that, it seems like. So please consider discussing this in your groups because it is an atrocity, and I swear nobody who menstruates actually chose that. Thank you.
Let's make a working group for it. Not quite a resolution, but we can talk afterwards to address it.
I moved to form a working group to change the pads in the bathrooms.
Motion made by Fisher, seconded Chisholm. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The working group is formed. So guys.
I mean, I. No, I'm going on.
All right, and that concludes public forum. We're now going to move to our financial business for the evening. Financial status currently, surplus is now at $563,733. Unallocated reserve is at $39,892. And if we spent all of the surplus today or approved every request today, it'd be $64,790 spent. I will clarify that the Multicultural Center, that is a request that we approved for MSA previously. They gave the funds back to surplus. Now they want to be under MCC. So it's essentially a transfer to MSA to MCC. So more like $34,790. Next, we will go to the request for a Multicultural Center.
Hi everyone. My name is Anna. I was here a lot last year as treasurer for SASA, but this year I'm student lead for the new Swana Center. Thank you. I was gonna give some background, but you already did. Basically, we were granted around 30,000 from surplus last year for startup costs for the Swana Center. Since then, over the summer, we've talked to the EMU, we've talked to MCC, and we're now officially housed under the MCC and have a physical space in the EMU. It's on the 3rd floor. It's for the old men's resource centers. We're not open yet, but I hope you all follow our Instagram and come to our grand opening because you guys helped us a lot. Basically, we're just asking that the money, I don't know if it's already been taken. It has, okay, basically that the money come back into the MCC funds under a SWANA line item.
Great, thank you so much. We'll open the floor to discussion and questions, and we'll start with Senator Stevenson.
If I think another senator raised their placard before me and I yield my time to them, can I get it back after?
Who raised their placard?
I think Senator Bailey was before.
You can go first.
Okay, hi. Forgive me, I might be speaking for a long time. But I just wanted to say, I wasn't here. My first year was last year, I transferred. But, so I've been here during camp. But, the Swana Center is one of the things that was won. And sorry, these, because I wasn't here, this sort of recollection of events was put together through speaking with Ria and Diego Duarte. So if anything's wrong or incorrect, tell me. But anyway, the Swana Center was won through like student organizers, like one here today, as part of negotiations through the Gaza Solidarity Encampment in spring 2024, which is 2 years ago now, through the efforts of groups like Arab Student Association, Muslim Student Association, the South Asian Cultural Alliance, Students for Justice in Palestine, just to name a few. And other allied organizers who, after winning the demands through the encampment, had to then regularly meet with Vice President for Student Life, Angela Chong, and on occasion, President Carl Schulz to see the fulfillment of those demands, which was not the most fun experience I've heard. I want to give special credit today to graduate student who is no longer here, Mohammed. Yeah, forgive me. I've never actually said his last name before. Thank you. And he's now doing work with UAW 4811 down in California. And he was by far one of the most consistent advocates for the Swana Center and led the charge that brought other student organizers in and also that brings the MCC here to us today. Yeah, last year the Swana Center was allocated a small inaccessible room in Agate Hall way off in the corner of campus. But during spring and summer terms, these same students demanded the center be moved to the MU, which had been the intention all along. And so that's why I am proud to move to authorize spending from surplus to Group Multicultural Center OS number. Is it an OS number? It's PMC MCC.
Yeah, they have like
Whatever that is, in the amount of $30,000 to line item Swana Center. Thank you.
we do actually have to say the index number, so.
Is it not that?
No.
Okay. I'll say it again.
This may just be different because they're in the park. It is. It just can't be like feeling.
Okay. That, I did say that.
You have to like officially call it.
Yes, should you do that? So instead of like the OS number, it'll be
Just PMC.
PMC NCC.
Okay. Okay. Now, I will authorize spending surplus to Group Multicultural Center to index number PMC MCC, the amount of $30,000 to line item Swana Center.
Motion made by Senator Bailey, seconded by Senator Stevenson. Now we'll go to Stevenson.
I was gonna say to further clarify, MSA was granted the $30,000 and they were kind enough to, in a back and forth, be willing to give that back. And so to Quadrian's point earlier, this is more of a transfer than a surplus, if anything. Thank you, IU.
Okay, that concludes the speakers list. Senator Fisher.
Did you just say that? Just say that the actual amount is like, isn't 30,000, it's like 34.
That's like all of surplus from the other events, like if we were to approve everything tonight, just to like lay it out. But for this request, it is a $30,000 request and we'll bring you. Sorry if that's confusing.
Very good, yeah.
All right, we'll go to vote now. Perez, aye. Peters,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
O'Neill,
Aye.
Taylor, aye. Smith,
Aye.
Offerdale, Heffernan,
Aye.
Chisholm, Nagarajan, aye. Stevenson,
Aye.
Withers,
Aye.
Bailey,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Westenberry,
Aye.
Needleman,
Aye.
and I say aye as well. Congrats, guys. Next up on the agenda, we have the Korean Student Association.
Once again, I would really like to push that we just approve this even though they're not here. I heard from other orgs last time that they never received an email to come to surplus. And if that is the case, and KSA is just another org that's gotten that, they're still having their events. This is further unfreezing of the ledger, no? I strongly encourage we just approve this. They can't spend any of their money. They're still having weekly meetings. It's just to unfreeze their ledger. It's below $300.
You want
Okay. Let me just look it up. Okay. Oh. I move to transfer from surplus $287 to Korean Student Association OS number OS 048I in the amount of $287 to line item social events.
Second, Peters.
motion made by O'Neill, seconded by Peters. And we can continue discussion now. If there's no discussion, we can vote. Mr. Bailey?
If this is an issue with boards not knowing they need to come to Senate, especially it says here they're all like newer members in the executive board, how do we like fix that?
So I send out the agenda each week to everybody who has an email on the form, and I did send it like the last 2 weeks to this board, and then usually when this gets tabled 2 times, I then reach out to them personally, Teams, Outlook, and I say, this has happened 2 weeks in a row, would you like to meet personally? And that's the process that I have for that, so. But the email was sent to this account, but like, they could have not seen it. Peters?
Oh, I was just in response to that, also typically because boards like haven't updated anything sometimes. Is their leadership? There's lots of, we're having a lot.
The list will now move to vote. No, we don't. Okay. We'll do acclamation vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Nay.
And the motion is approved. We will move forward on the agenda to medicine administrative. We have a representative from medicine administrative.
Yeah, hello, I'm here.
Awesome. Please introduce yourself and share a little about your request.
Yeah, so my name is Tanner. I'm president of medicine administration. This is my 3rd year as president. And we are requesting extra funds for we host a suture clinic every year, usually twice a year. And our first one was pretty expensive. We had an unexpected like $250 fee to host it in the Redwood room. Now, in years past, we hosted in Lee Crutcher Lewis, which doesn't require a fee. So that $250 wiped out our entire suture clinic budget, both for this term and spring term. So the fee outlined here is just to kind of reimburse that. Also, so we can have a similar, because that's our biggest event of the year. We have usually about 70 people come. It's very successful, and so we want to have that same turnout for the spring, and that Redwood room worked for us. It just requires an extra $250 fee. So that's kind of it's just a revised total amount for the suture clinic.
Thank you so much for sharing. We will now open it up for questions, starting with Senator Peters.
Well, I was just gonna ask why the typically student orgs don't have to, appeal to Senator Smith.
Okay, for every room except for in the EMU, except for the ballroom and Redwood, it's not like a room fee, it's for the labor. So they have to have certain rooms and like a couple different big ones around campus, like there's 5 or 6 of them. They need like a supervisor, so for every hour, there's like an hourly fee for that. The only other things that could be like raising that cost would also maybe be like their setup in there. Cause like if you have to like add or remove things or whatever there's cost for that. So it's not like technically the building, but it's a supervisor, but still, yeah, they're right, like it is.
Thank you, AD.
Hello, thank you so much for being here. How many people did the suturing clinics?
This year I think we got around 55. I input the attendance. I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but I don't remember exactly. I think it was around 55.
Thank you very much. Product costs analysis.
So I'm gonna move to authorize spending in ministry OS number OS 248 in the amount of $500 to line item $400 in suture clinic and $100 in tabling.
Motion made by Senator Stevenson, seconded Senator Taylor.
Thank you, I yield.
There's no more discussion. We'll go to vote now. We'll vote by acclamation. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. And the motion's passed. Congratulations, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have forbidden fruit. Thank you so much for being here. Please share a little about your request.
Hi, yes. So we're Forbidden Fruit. My name is Seth. I am the treasurer for the club. And we are the Rocky Horror Shadow Cast on campus. Every term we put on 2 shows, and to do those shows, we need to have a movie license. And what we are requesting is money to make up for the movie license, especially because this year's the 50th anniversary of the movie. So licenses cost more than they typically do. So we are requesting money so we can put on our shows. Our fall shows can be pretty big. Yeah, I don't know how much you can pay for.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's perfect. My first question is, do you guys have money in your budget allocated for this event?
We had previously been given advice to use surplus. That's something that in our budgeting for the coming year, we've changed. We're trying to fully have that in our budget. We do have a line item for licenses, but in the past we've used surplus. Just it was advice we was given at some point. We've since started changing paths with that, but we will need to kind of get surplus to do our main function.
Thank you. Senator Haverden.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. I was surprised reading that they would have advised you to do that, since that is like the purpose of your club and you have to have the film licenses. That just seems very odd. I guess I really don't know why they would do that, but yeah, Quadrian took my question, so I yield.
Yeah, I just want to voice my support for this. Watching Rocky Horror is pointless without a shadow cast. It's so much fun, and they do it around Halloween, and it is one of my favorite events that happened on campus, and I was really glad when I got to meet with them. So yeah, I am very much in support of this request, but I believe there's more questions. I'm just gonna stop talking. I yield.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. I do have a couple of questions. One is back to the budget situation. So your ledger currently has $950 in it. Is that allocated for this and the 2,000 is on top of that? Or is that allocated to something else?
That is allocated to this, and then the 2,000 is making up for the full price, yes.
Okay, I see, thank you. And then do you know like how many people come?
I was trying to double check the numbers because I know there are fall shows. We have LLC, and I know that we have filled out that before. I'm really bad at gauging numbers of people. But typically we have, and it's somewhere from 100 to 200 for each show.
Thank you so much. I yield.
Senator Taylor.
I think this is a great. I had a lot of friends go to this last year. I didn't make it, and I was really sad to not have gone. So I'm just going to put a motion on the table. Yeah, I'm going to put a motion out. I move to authorize spending from surplus to group Forbidden Fruit, OS number OS 166I, in the amount of $2,000 and $2,033 to line item fall film license.
Motion made by Taylor, seconded by Perez. Westenberry.
I just have a question about the licensing. In the engaged form, it says that you need 2 licenses. Is that for each night of the performance?
It's 2 total, so each we have each term listed film line items, so the bulk would cover both of the licenses for night one and two.
Okay, and so one license cannot cover both performances.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. That's just what I want to know. Thank you. I yield.
And you kind of referenced it before. I was just curious, how much does it usually cost for your guys' license? Like, what was the spike like for this 50th anniversary?
I'm not the one who interacts with our license, like the people that we get a license through. He wasn't able to make it tonight, so he has the better exact numbers. I don't know the different prices, unfortunately.
Okay, it's totally cool. And then there's no one else on the list. We will now move to vote. Starting with Senator Perez. Aye. Peters. Aye. Fisher. O'Neill.
Aye.
Taylor. Aye. Smith. Opperday.
Aye.
Chisholm. Aye. Stevenson.
Aye.
Withers.
Aye.
Haley.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Westenberry.
Aye.
Zimmerman.
Aye.
And I say aye as well. Have fun, guys. And last surplus request is the International Business and Economics Club. Thank you guys so much for being here.
So much for having us.
Okay. Well, first off, before we start, I want to thank you guys for having us here today. We're really excited to finish as this is a lot of our first time in Senate as well. Yeah, we are here today representing the International Business and Economics Club as well as the American Marketing Association. So we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves really quickly. My name is Logan Adams. I was the president of IBEC last year, and right now I'm serving as the board advisor. I'm Matthew Dillon, the vice president of finance project.
I'm Debbie Chen, and I'm the current president of American Marketing Association.
I am Sia, and I'm the VP of operations for both AMA and IBEC.
And in the audience here to support us, we have Vivian Oki, the VP of finance for the American Marketing Association. And then behind her, we have Katawin, current president of the International Business. Let's dive in. Next slide, please. Okay, so just a quick background for all of you. We are the International Business Club or Business and Economics Club and the American Marketing Association. And since we've already done introductions, which was supposed to be on this slide, go on to the next. Okay, so I'll give you all a quick run through on what is IBEC. So the International Business and Economics Club is the premier club at the Autonomous College of Business, designated for all things international and global opportunity. Our mission is to create these connections across all cultures by bridging the gap those students that come talk to us and express a globally minded perspective or that interest in working abroad, being abroad, seeing the world, and then ultimately bridging that gap and resources, industry networks, and skills and education they need to actually go out and seize that dream. Some past events from last year, as accompanied by the screenshots from our Instagram, we had our first site visit in 5 years, hosting 20 students up to Portland, Oregon for a Baird and Moss Adams site visit. We also put on our annual Black Tie Dinner, which hit an all-time record of 125 plus students and 20 different industry professionals and UO staff, allowed them to interact, cooperate, connect. We also saw a record amount of membership growth, a record amount of alumni engagement. Also, very proud of this personally, a record amount of members placing in industry and then also placing internationally. We also had our first ever batch of internal interns with the club, and we also ran 3 cross-club collaborations. Now, I'll pass it off to Joe to talk about AMA.
So what is the American Marketing Association? Our goal and mission statement as a club is to help our members and students connect with members as well as industry professionals, develop their skills and knowledge, and as well as growing their personal brands. And then just some key highlights and accomplishments from this and last year. Since last year of spring term to this year to fall term, we've been able to increase our membership by 700%. Last year, we were also able to re-affiliate with our national chapter of AMA, and hopefully today and this year, we're trying to increase our footprint and presence within that as well.
This year and this fall, we were able to launch our first ever consulting branch at AMA here at the University of Oregon chapter, where we help companies with pro bono marketing supplements. And then last spring, we received the Outstanding Club Collaboration Award from the Dean's Council. And then last year, a highlight was competing in the national case competition in New Orleans. So what are we here requesting today? AMA and IBEC is asking for a combined total of $32,000 for a site visit to Los Angeles. Week 2 of spring term, which is going to be April 8th through the 11th. And we specifically chose this week because we were advised from our companies that we've already coordinated with that it's right before their recruiting cycles and be good time to just get FaceTime in front of them. Next slide, please.
Okay, so one of the goals of this site visit, as you can see up here, are to really expose and train members from both clubs on professional representation of not just themselves in front of these companies, but also representing the UO brand and putting the UO in front of these companies and industries for better recruiting outcomes. On that same note, we want to contribute to the overall career outcome of the University of Oregon by putting our members directly in front of these companies, allowing them to experience the company culture, allowing them to interact with these panelists, and also engage with the offices visited and the alumni spoken with. As you can see on that same note, we really, really want to strengthen the alumni relations and contact points to the LA industry, the LA area, and also specifically the LA Ducks branch of the Alumni Association. We aim to strengthen UO's national brand as well by using the site to position our Ducks alongside other institutions in the LA/Orange County industrial areas, both of which are areas where UO has a large alumni presence, but a weak pipeline currently. And finally, really, as two clubs collaborating, we really wanted to establish a, successful example for not just clubs to follow, but also look at and recognize the importance of club collaboration in maximizing resource efficiency, making the most of what you can get, and also the feasibility of actually working with alumni and engaging with Los Angeles, which is a huge industrial metropolitan. So, visiting 4 companies in the 2 days that we're going to spend visiting. The Creative Arts Agency, NBC Universal, RPA Ad Agency, and also Twitch. Of these 4 companies, we have alumni presence in all of them. We also saw that all 4 of them are national, CAA, NBC Universal, and RPA being the 3 international that we are visiting as well. Slide, please.
Then I'll be talking about kind of what the day-to-day would look like. On our first day on April 8th, on Wednesday, will be primarily a travel day. So we'll be meeting at the Student Rec Center and then all together going to the Eugene Airport to have our flight to LA with a quick SF layover. And then we're going to check into our hotel. And our hotel is in a very central area and helps us deduct a lot of costs, such as transportation, which kind of leads into the dinner that you see next. So that will be a walkable location. And then for Thursday, April 9th, will be our first site visit day. And we'll get breakfast, go to NBC, get lunch, go to Deutsch, and then get dinner once again. And then next slide, please. And then for our second site visit day, same kind of thing. We're going to walk to breakfast, which is also walkable to CAA, and then be able to have our LA Ducks alumni mixer, also go to RPA, and then have dinner. And a quick note is that, as you can see through the 2 site visit days, we fully maximize our time with our site visits and takes up most of the day that we're using. And then for the last day on Saturday will be our last travel day, and it'll be primarily just going back to Eugene with the PDX layover and then drop off the Student Rec Center. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. Before I pass it off to Matthew to run us through the cost breakdown, one thing we wanted to make sure we press from you all is that we understand the difference between this year and last year when it comes to surplus cuts, and it is truly unfortunate the administration is affecting the budget that all the clubs are having to. So I want to make very clear that when we heard about this during the summer and planned accordingly during the fall, we made a special designated effort to rapid cuts to what we do, what we look into, what we consider, to make sure that not only were we collabing to bring as many people and expand our reach across campus as much as possible, but to also make sure that we were maximizing time as well as the money that we would be theoretically spending on this trip. So with that being said, I'll pass it off to Matthew.
So that airfare number you're seeing right there, that 480 per person, is as according to ASUO guidelines, an average between the cheapest and the most expensive refundable flights. That lodging number that you're seeing right there, the courtyard price that we mentioned earlier for the hotel is about $400 a night. We're planning on keeping about 4 people in each bedroom for a total of 7 rooms. So that's 400 a night divided by 4 is $100 per person per night times the 3 nights that we're going to be there. That transportation number that you're seeing is all based on Uber and Lyft and other rideshare opportunities. LA does not have the infrastructure for public transportation, and so to maximize our time at the companies instead of on transit, we decided that rideshare is the most optimal decision for us. That food number comes out to about a $63 per diem for each person. And if you go to the next slide, you can see a percentage breakdown what each of those costs are associated with. As you can see, airfare sort of takes up the majority of the costs there, with lodging sort of being next, and then transportation and food sort of taking up the smallest portion. Next slide, please. Okay, so in terms of our application details and the cohort we are planning to bring, we are aiming to bring about 28 home students to this visit. Breaking that down, it's going to be 10 AMA members, 10 IBEC members, 4 AMA exec, and 4 IBEC exec. By that next bullet point down, we are making an intentional effort to prioritize member participation over their leadership status in the club. And that's shown in the amount of exec we're bringing. We are only planning to bring about half of each of our exec boards. And we planned this because by bringing 8 exec, we would be able to still divide into pods and assign exec to specific hotel rooms to make sure we're monitoring and keeping the people we're bringing safe and within resource reach, but then also not trying to make it so that we're bringing 14 exec or 16 exec and taking that opportunity away from the members who ultimately need it the most. With the third bullet point, the candidate application that we have sent out is going to be used to first screen a first batch of candidates. And then once we've narrowed down that list a little more, we're then going to interview them one-on-one for overall professionalism, the preparation that they are planning to do for the trip, and then also their alignment with the trip's overarching goals. This is put in place to make sure we are selecting the most merit-based bunch that will actually be prepared and ready to represent the UO pride, professionalism, and also as an effort on our side to completely eliminate the bias in who we're selecting for this. One other thing I'd like to clarify is that this will not be a first come first served basis on that same note of preserving the merit in the application status and not the timeliness of when they're applying. We also want to emphasize that for AMA and IBEC, our attendees and members come from multiple majors and business concentrations, as we are both open to all majors across campus, unlike many of the other LCP clubs. And finally, we are also making it a rule that none of the students that are allowed, or none of the students on this site visit will, no students attending will have previously participated in a site visit to Los Angeles, which will make sure will have fully maximize what they're able to take back to the community and take back. Reasoning behind why a site visit is broken down into 3 parts. Number 1 is the career access. We want to, as I've mentioned earlier, open doors to LA and really tap into opportunities that are available there that aren't as strong or available locally in the PNW. We also want to lead this site visit as 2 of the most active and inclusive organizations at the One Coast College of Business. And I say this because out of all the clubs in the LCB, we happen to be 2 that are completely free in all events and also have all of our events open to every single major. Finally, we are going to LA for strategic purposes and obviously not just sightseeing purposes. Our itinerary, as you saw earlier, is packed back to back to make sure we're spending as little amount of time there
so that we don't have to spend as much money there. And then also to focus on the professional networking opportunities with these industry powerhouses in LA, and to also bring the UO brand to the area and put ourselves in front of alumni and company. Next slide, please. So why LA in that case? Well, one thing that we factored into our consideration planning out our first site visit out of state in a while is that the LA Ducks happens to be one of UO's largest alumni hubs. But for some reason, so many of the clubs that we're seeing are going to San Francisco, Seattle, and New York, which to say there's nothing wrong with those cities, except with LA Ducks being one of the largest, we're recognizing that the club connection and pipeline is disproportionately weaker compared to the other hubs that we see clubs visiting often. Go to LA, we are aiming to establish a strong alumni student connection through a specific event that we're planning. We're going to host alumni in a mixer in one of these site visits to make sure we're putting as many students as possible in front of as many alumni as possible to hopefully increase the career outcomes that these companies and industries have to offer to all of the majors of UO. Second thing is that this is the Lundquist College of Business's first entry into LA in years. We aim to treat this not as like a one-time, one-off type of connection, but rather a foothold for the overall business community and overall UO community. We wanted, like I mentioned earlier, demonstrate the importance and the feasibility of industry connection to LA and that Orange County area to all the other UO clubs, which we hope to potentially attract new recruiting efforts and alumni engagement efforts. Finally, LA itself, I'm sure as all of you know, LA is a top tier recruiting market for all things under the sun of entertainment, marketing, venture capital, startup, tech, consulting, and advertising, many of which are industries that UO is unfortunately underrepresented compared to USC or UCLA. So ultimately, by pushing our members and fostering these alumni connections and hopefully bringing back the knowledge that we gain on the site visit to the campus, we can start increasing that pipeline again, start increasing the representation you all have in that area. Next slide, please.
So all in all, at the end of the day, how is this going to benefit the University of Oregon? Firstly, we want to set a strong model for this cross-club collaboration. We're hoping that this AMA and IBEC partnership becomes a blueprint for all future orgs at the University of Oregon outside of the business school, arts and letters, sciences, all of those colleges. And we want to emphasize how the collaboration among club can be also a resource for efficiency as well. Secondly, that direct career access. We want our members and students to be able to gain that real professional exposure, have those mentorship conversations as well as internship interviews. And then finally, our post-LA trip, week 3 of spring term, we wanted to host a collab meeting with AMA and IBEC to share what we learned from this LA networking trip. So we're going to learn about how to engage with those internship professionals, how to practice proper etiquette, as well as represent UO with pride. So we truly believe being able to network and talk to industry professionals is a transferable skill among all the majors and a career. Although we're only able to bring 28 students on this site visit, we hope by doing this
Hi, everyone. My name is Colin. I just want to add another member perspective. So Scott was the president of AMA last year, but last year as a member of IBEC, I went on a Portland site visit. So this was our first site visit in several years. And it was really intimidating at first because I've not done anything like that before. I found it really helpful. We found two companies up in Portland, Baird and Moss Adams, and we went to visit them. And it was a really fulfilling experience for me. I was able to interview with Moss Adams, which is something I didn't imagine I would be able to do. And then also just I got a different internship based on it that summer directly through one of the U of O alumni who worked out there, who I networked with at the event. And so this was something for me as a member that was super powerful and rewarding. And I can say it's going to be even better if something like that could happen for LA, just because outside of Oregon, there's even so much more and so much that is untapped right now.
Okay, that be perfect. And yeah.
Detailed presentation. We'll start discussion now with Senator Stevenson.
Oh, could we stop at the cost breakdown? That's perfect. So my first question to you guys is, are you guys requesting this much or 32,000?
We're requesting 32,000 because we have we don't know when we are gonna book the flights and book the hotels. Like with inflation and kind of price varying, it just kind of give us a little bit of leverage to use the extra money just in case those flights do.
Perfect. From there, how much of this trip has the LCB have to pay funding any of this?
Yeah, so with the LTV funding, there is really LTV funding with stipends and also just in clubs in general. They offer a dean's fund, but that's a per term and that's also based off just club. And so $400 on an LTV.
Sorry, if I could go off of that, coincidentally, she and I are actually both on the council, and the thing about the LCD funding, that's business school. I even thought when I first joined IBEC that I thought there was LTD funding with support, but really, it really boils down to the fact that they don't have any, and the support they do have actually comes from one or two clubs that generate revenue, but then ultimately kind of routed back into themselves anyways. So the rest of the business clubs work with ASUO or other affiliates on campus to secure funding.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. And on that note, you guys mentioned that you were doing Chipotle and Panda Express fundraising, and you don't know the exact amount that you guys will be raising, but do you have a general gist?
So we actually spoke to both of them, and how it works is
Super sorry. Can we just make sure you're using a mic? The people on Zoom are having a hard time hearing.
So you only get 25% of the profits from Chipotle or Panda Express, and if an average Chipotle bowl is around $11, 25% of that is going to be $2.70. And on average, their fundraisers bring in 100 people max, so that's only $275, and we can only do so many Chipotle and Panda Express fundraisers per term, and that $275 does really add up to $32,000.
Yeah, thank you. I yield.
I love that you guys are collaborating. We love to see more collaborations. I did have a question for the AMA folks, just because we did get a request earlier this summer, because you guys didn't have a budget earlier this year, and you requested $5,000 so you guys can go on your conference that you have to go to for your club. How much are you guys contributing to this trip with?
Speaking of money.
Yeah.
Okay, I think to preface, with the $5,400 that we pitched for, $4,500 of it was for programming, and that I said was for mainly the food. And then the administrative fees was mainly for the tabling stuff that we had for the events that we were involved on campus, such as the block party and the student involvement fair. And that essentially was banner that we purchased, stickers. And with the $5,000, like I said, since the majority of it was for programming and for the food costs, we've already kind of allocated that. And so there was not any money allocated from our budget from the summer to this specific site visit.
Okay, awesome. And then, Do you think that you guys are gonna have to come back and re-request funds to go on a trip that you guys have to go on later in the year?
Yes.
Thank you. Senator O'Neill.
Hello, thank you for coming. I did enjoy hearing the way that y'all are cutting down your costs. I just have a few questions and a few comments. So do you guys ever hold conferences here where you invite alumni to come?
So I'm sure Jovi can attest to what AMA has in store for the plans this year because yes. Oh yeah. So I can speak to IBEC's side. With IBEC, we have alumni engagement show up in two forms. One is on a week-by-week basis, we will outreach to alumni and say, hey, we're a group of international business and economics and also other major students. And we were wondering if you could come in and speak to us. And based on the bounce rate of that, sometimes we have alumni who actually Zoom in or come speak to us physically. And then the second form of which it takes is, I mentioned the annual Black Tie dinner that we put on, where we choose a country to theme it after. Last year's was Mexico, and from there we were able to identify two people with Latino or Hispanic ties, and then actually one of them who started his own company. And from there we just invited them to the dinner, where then they would speak physically.
Okay, also, I am looking at your Engage, but I'm a little bit confused. What exactly is the international part of the name of your club for?
I don't know.
Yeah, is it like some of y'all are international students or you want to work internationally? I did get that part from it, but I guess like how exactly does this differ from the other clubs or the other orgs internationally, you know?
Absolutely. So I can kind of break that into like way different from business clubs and then also what like different from the other or outside of the business school. So in the business school, at the very least, there is not a single other club that is focused on putting together a diverse community or international community. And then there's also not another club that is focused on placing people outside of the country and helping them pursue global opportunities. A lot of business clubs are focused mainly in outside of business school. What I believe sets us apart when compared to other campus organizations is we serve almost as an all-in-one place because we do have a few international students, which we pride ourselves on welcoming into the club. We also have a bunch of people, domestic students. We do really love their passion for wanting to go abroad and want to kind of fan those flames and like show them that it is not sort of a pipe dream that a lot of people feel like it is, that it is like doable and realistic and, you know, only really requires knocking down that barrier of education skill building that we offer to them. So I guess to round about and answer your question more directly, what I think sets us apart from the other clubs on campus as well is that we have a diverse community of international and domestic mix. We also have a diverse community of business school, business department majors, but then also a ton of other majors that we've surveyed. And then also from there, our common goal isn't really business and economics, even though it's the name, which can be a little misleading sometimes. Our overarching goal that I've really tried to put in place as someone who's been on IBEC Exec for 3 years is that professional development and international career like pursuit is what we stand for as a core, which is something that, you know, a lot of clubs have unity and community building built in, but we really want to push the idea that, you know, we're in school to build our skills and to increase our career outcomes. That's something we want to do for everyone. So anyone who's willing to come out and check out this.
Okay, sounds good. Another question that I have is, could you further expand a little bit more on how this will bring opportunities back for the rest of the people in your club?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the two examples we actually included at the end were one to try and help verbalize that for your sake. With Scott Jacobs and then also Colin, we wanted to try and demonstrate that when we send people on these site visits, they're not just doing it as a one-off thing for their own professional development, which obviously is a part of it because from there they learn skills and they get a feel for company culture, they get a feel for professional face-to-face networking rather than call. And they actually bring that back, and from their testimonies, we helped to, try and demonstrate that they bring that back and they know how to then use it to show up for their roles and their careers professionally. And also what we're hoping to further the benefit of these experiences is that we are hoping that the people who go on this trip can be almost oriented or trained by us before we go on the trip to make sure they're soaking up as much as possible, note taking as much as possible, engaging as much as possible. And then when we come back, post-trip workshop, we almost want to host. We didn't want to call it a panel just because there were 28 people on the panel, but we almost want to have that combined meeting, reach as many people as possible across campus to then kind of have the people who weren't able to participate in an experience like that be able to ask the people like, oh, what was it like? What did you learn? So that even if they're not there learning directly, they can from there be more or we can then have the people who do go on these be more intentional about like sharing their experiences, benefiting the overall community, and like overall spreading that knowledge and sharing the education they've received from going on something like this. Just because there's just no way we could bring 40, 50, but very least to a workshop like this, and then also at our Black Tie dinner, we're hoping that every time our students interact with each other at our open club meetings, they're just kind of constantly spreading that knowledge and sharing it with more and more people every single day.
Okay, and then do these companies, I guess, have international ties? Okay.
So of the four, and if you want to go back to the slide with the companies, I can use that as a visual aid as well. Thank you very much. So of these four, CAA, NBC Universal, and RPA are international. They have international offices. For example, CAA actually has offices in, I believe, Shanghai, Dubai, and a few other places across Europe and Southeast Asia, as well as Oceania, with NBC Universal as well. RPA, we haven't looked into their international ties as much just because we could focus on kind of like the LA office, but they are international. Which is the only one that isn't, I guess, per se, international in terms of having offices abroad. But Deutsch is also just a very personal connection, as you guys saw with Scott. Scott went straight from Deutsch, or from here to Deutsch, back in June this year when he graduated. So that one's more of like a personal connection where we wanted to go and thank him for making this opportunity possible. And then also from there connecting with all the other LA alumni who graduated from here and moved or worked with Deutsch.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm just going to say now, y'all might have heard how Women in Business came in and their pitch was shot down. Unfortunately, I also think that this is quite a lot of money, although it is quite many people, and I appreciate you guys putting so much effort into these plans. The reason that I specifically am feeling this way is because based on the PFC, I'm in the PFC. Based on PFC priorities, we're really not putting much effort into travel specifically. I really like the things that your club brings to this campus, and as I do Women in Business. And I think I really enjoyed hearing about your conference that your Mexico themed event. And I think something that would be really cool that I would be really willing to put money forth from surplus into is something like bringing LA to here. That way more people can participate in it. I'm just really having a hard time with the number of 28 people and 32,000, but yeah, that's just where I'm at. So thank you for your time. I yield.
Yeah, I guess I'm sort of echoing maybe sentiments here. But the presentation was wonderfully crafted. I appreciate that you guys made an attempt to factor in the circumstances with surplus into this request. There is a document that it is currently being worked on and finalized to try and make surplus more accessible and understandable, and specifically our priorities on travel are outlined in there very clearly. I regret that that wasn't available before you, that sentence before us did do this. Because I don't know, wouldn't it be nice if you guys knew? Yeah, this sucks. I'm sorry for what I pretty much, well, I know how I'm gonna vote, I'm pretty sure. Um, but I think everyone here, is interested in working with both clubs to find some kind of compromise, whatever that might look like. Because the connection that you have is really important. And the things that you hope to do with this collaboration with your club in general, bring something to the LCB that wasn't there before. That's all. I yield.
Hello, thank you all. You were wildly prepared. I think this is possibly one of our most prepared student orgs that have come before us. So seriously, like, I know that took a lot of work. You're organizing between two clubs and not even just coming before us, but to plan this whole adventure terms in advance. I cannot appreciate that enough. I have a couple of questions for you all. One came up during our discussion. So we were talking about LCB funding and you mentioned a $400 amount. I'm just curious if you could speak more to that about the use of funding, the $400.
Yeah, the $400 is a one-off funding. It's a one term and also that is not used for stipends. So that's like, I should have mentioned that it's only used for either like food for events or tabling or like you have to rent out chairs and tables and stuff, but that's not used for stipends.
Okay, so none of that $400 could be applied to this.
Correct.
That's it.
Yes.
Not travel, not food, not nothing.
No, that's food for events on campus. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. And then I wanted to ask a little bit more about fundraising because I totally agree that like 250 estimation on Chipotle is not a lot of money when we're looking at a 32,000. But when we're looking at the other orgs that are going to come in front of us, $250 will go far out of surplus. So would you all be open to some sort of fundraising plan in order to fill the gap so we could save some of that money for other orgs?
Yeah, I can answer that. Yeah. Yeah, so we have some ideas. It's just a little bit hard logistically getting fundraising because a lot of these fundraising websites, they're after like 2 weeks in advance, 3 weeks in advance, and like they can only limit it to like 1 day. Otherwise, you have to repeat that process again. So we are trying to get like a week consecutively of different fundraisers from different companies. But a lot of companies also don't give you that great deal like Chipotle does, like that 25%. It's either like you have to give us like your credit information, but obviously we're an organization and all of you know we don't have that. And that's where it gets complicated. So we are currently working on that, but logistically it's harder to get over that number of like 250 and like a little bit higher.
Okay. Other thoughts? I don't want to cut you off on this.
I didn't want to interrupt anything, but one other thing that came up when we were meeting to discuss potential ways to try and try and mitigate that cost was, we discussed fundraisers and we completely agree it could go a long way for another club and it's definitely something we are open to. It's just the main motivation behind us coming in and planning it and requesting early is also that I believe through a conversation we had with the heads of finance, we understand that we can request the amount we will need. And then through fundraising, if we're able to make up that differential, we can then kind of, fall under what we requested and then have the money go back to you regardless, if I'm correct.
Yeah. That can technically happen, but it is very predicated on whether fundraising actually happens and things like that. So I do think it's a slippery slope to go down like down that road.
Okay, because like we give them the full amount and then they don't end up fundraising anything. Okay.
Once we give it to them, it would just be a request.
Then I have a question about the alumni mixer. Is that something that you all organized or is that something that just happens to be already going on that date that you picked?
So from when we talk to our connections and alum at CAA, a lot of them happen to be in the LA Ducks cohort.
Yeah.
And I was interning in DC this summer and there's actually a DC Ducks there and they have a small budget to host a small mixer. So we kind of all got together. So that kind of sparked the idea of why don't we do something similar in LA? And they love the idea. And since we have alum at all these companies that will already be visiting, they're going to bring in those people at all the companies. And then as well as people are driving from San Francisco, they're coming from San Diego, like LA, but also California. They're very willing to give back and super excited. We are putting together the mixer. It wasn't happening prior.
Okay. Perfect, and is the alumni chapter going to cover the costs for that? Because I'm not seeing those costs here.
Yes, they are.
Perfect. And then this is just an idea as well. I don't know if this is something that you could coordinate, but one way we could cut down a little bit more on transportation costs would be having everyone find their own way to the Eugene Airport. That is 28 people that need to find rides, but that is one thought that I had. And then in your application section, you were talking about how you have not yet selected the 20 people going, correct? Okay, do you expect to have the demand to fill those 20 slots?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I can go in depth.
No, I just wanted to know if
Oh,
you were
yeah.
anticipating enough
Okay.
to
We
fill
definitely
all
are.
20 slots. Okay. And then, okay, those were all my questions. Just to express where I'm at with this, I'm conflicted. It is a lot of money, but this does seem like a fantastic opportunity. Honestly, for companies to have these students go and visit is phenomenal, and networking is how you get jobs after graduation and even for internships during our schooling. So I do think that there's great value here. You've planned it out really well. You've really looked at the cost and how to cut down on this. I think that's really impressive. And so ultimately, I'm leaning on voting for this, and maybe even a reduced amount that we can discuss right now. But I do think there's enough of a payoff that and enough systems in place where we aren't having repeat people going on trips and things like that. I'd be interested in the application process if you're going to limit not just people going on site visits like this, but other networking opportunities, since we know we're going to be funding things with an AMA in the future and we have in the past, maybe building that in so that we're spreading out traveling to these types of conferences and networking opportunities. But I'm conflicted, but I think I'm coming down on that this is an incredible opportunity for those that get to go. With that, I yield.
If I can just mention one more thing that we didn't really touch on in the presentation is that one added benefit, because a lot of what I heard you talking about was sure there's 30 people going on the trip, but how can that help both the broader UO community and the people who don't get to go on the trip? One thing that's been super helpful in the past is after doing these types of site visits and out of U of O networking events, that is how we create the pipeline for different recruitment companies to come to UO. So this year we've had people. We scheduled Amica, we had AlphaSec last year, we've had people from a number of different companies. I think we had Lithia just came in like a week ago. And so we've had probably 10 recruiters over the past year come in specifically for UO students. And so I'm advocating for that because that's how I got my internship. But I think it's really helpful because just without that, and especially for out of Oregon companies that don't usually come here, it's hard to create like kind of like a catalyst where it's what's that first step to get them interested into U of O kids. And this has been really helpful for me and for other people who've gotten internships and jobs out of it.
And just so everyone knows, there's 8 people on the primary list right now, and then Senator Stevenson's on the secondary list right now. And then we'll go to Senator Perez. Hey guys, thanks for being here. I really like the presentation. Just kind of get out the way. I really like this. I have no question about the opportunity. The one thing that stood out to me is looking at the budget and looking at our surplus priorities, our financial priorities. To me, I want to like make this happen, but I want to kind of meet in the middle for this. One of the things on our priority list is having collaboration events. It was second. So I think that's a big thing. You guys coming together for this, that really stood out to me. Another thing about travel, for West Coast trips, we're looking around no more than 8,000 for the entirety of the trip, like per club. So for you guys, it'd be around like 16. I'd be pushing around 1,000 per person. So having you guys both together, that's like, you guys are beyond that. Well, these are guidelines. I still want to stay like around that. And the 2 main things that kind of stood out to me was, again, this is just like my recommendation. I don't want to put you guys on the spot. I want you guys to really think about this and not make any like quick rash decision. But then it's more feasible to like cut out was food. Because I would say you guys are like 5,000. To me, my thought process was the event is until it's April, right? So that gives everyone time to at least like save a little money themselves. I know it's not like the easiest thing to do, but at least there's some time for that. And then, so I'll save you guys around like 5,000. And then 28 people is a lot. And I wish every org could bring like, as many people as they can. But would you guys be considering like bringing it down to like 24, 22, like around that area? Again, I want you guys to like think about that. I'm very for this, but those are like the two things that stood out to me where you guys could bring a lot of people, but also meet our priorities.
Thank you guys again for hearing us out. The food that we're requesting for, we want to make the trip as equitable as possible for everybody, regardless if they have financial needs of any kind. But if that is the difference between us getting something versus not, I think we would absolutely be willing to forego the food costs associated with this trip. And then, like I mentioned previously, we have some transportation costs we could also cut down on. It was just trying to make it as smooth as possible and again as equitable as possible for everyone so that they're not incurring these costs. I know it is far in the future and they have time to save and everything, but again, we try and advertise that these clubs are free, they're open to everybody, and we wouldn't want to discourage anybody from coming on the trip because of financial concern. But again, if that is the difference between funding versus no funding, we'd be willing to adjust our budget a little bit for sure.
In that case, I yield. Senator Fisher.
Guys, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, like everyone said, I loved your presentation. I can tell that you just put so much thought and so much care into this request, making sure that it works for us, but also that it works for you guys. So thank you for that. Yeah, can we go back to the slide that has the costs again? Yeah, so I was gonna ask the same question as like Xander, is if like would you be willing to bring fewer people? And if you think about that, because I also like want to meet somewhere in the middle on this. I think that there's like a way that we can get it closer to like what our financial priorities are, even though they aren't implemented yet. So yeah, I think definitely like considering that. I think that if there were going to be like, any kind of like major adjustments that you would have to make like as your organizations, then we would probably end up like denying this request tonight and then bringing it back so that you like have that time to like think about those things. And also I think that since like, it's April, you have like time to do that. But I just wanted to like put that out there that if this does end up like getting denied tonight, it doesn't mean like absolutely not no, so that you guys can have that like flexibility essentially. And then the question that I wanted to ask was like, if this trip like ended up not getting funded, I know you said those like site visits are already booked. Would that like negatively impact the relationships that you have with these companies?
Yes.
Okay, so thanks for putting that out there. I was just curious about that because it seems like a big deal and I, don't want to make you guys look bad and like you put in a lot of effort over the years to build up these connections. So yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. I yield.
Yeah, I think it's kind of already been said, but like I think the biggest thing for y'all to think about would be like reducing the amount of people. I think like if you came back with a number that was lower and a lower amount of people, that would probably make it easier for us to fund it. Yeah.
To like touch on the lower amount of people too, just especially with AMA's current budget situation. I know I'm personally leaning towards rejecting the request just because like there is like an amount of funds that you guys have this year because you didn't get to go through a budget process last year. And you guys, I don't know if you've already went your San Francisco trip, but I know that's coming down the line for you guys. And
sorry.
Yeah.
The San Francisco trip has now turned into this LA collapse. So we are no longer doing San Francisco.
When it comes to lowering the amount of people though, that is personally just where I stand, just because you guys didn't have an allotted budget this year. And I do feel like it'd be good to focus on like programs here at school, things like that. That's just me personally. Wait, Senator Fisher.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for being here. I have a lot of things, not many of it is questions. I don't want to waste your time saying what everyone has already said, but I feel obligated and I think I should communicate with you guys. First things first, I think you did an amazing job. I was like, oh, I'm in Senate, I'm a teacher, I teach every day, like everything's fine. And then I had to go to PTM last night and it literally terrified me. I was so scared. I appreciate so much more what you guys just did. You were so prepared, your presentation was amazing, you did a great job. You're also answering our questions, it's amazing. You guys are doing great. What was I gonna say? Okay. Here's my thing. I'm also conflicted. Now, you don't know me, but I don't like travel at all. So me being conflicted, I think is a pretty good sign. I'm really conflicted because I think this is a great trip. I think you guys have done so much work. I think you guys have done so much planning. I think it's really important that you do get to make these connections. I just really appreciate the time that you spent. And I do think like for 28 people, it is kind of relatively cost efficient. Like that is a lot of people. The things that make me conflicted, I'm just going to be upfront. I do think like knowing, because you guys, AMA is still going to Chicago, right? That's your required trip.
Yes, that's our national cake competition in which we compete with other national chapters around the US as well.
Okay. So because we know that that's coming up and that is required, and that's kind of like the main travel I'm always for is when you have to go to something. So that makes me a little conflicted. I'm also a little conflicted just based on like it is a lot of money and it is a lot of people. That being said, all of that being said, I want to know, number one, this kind of falls into our priorities in terms of like collaboration and things like that. It also kind of doesn't fall into our priorities in terms of the cost amount total. However, again, just to like always make it, no one is beholden to these. I do think you should be considering them. However, no one except three of us had any say on what these priorities are. And so therefore, I don't think it's fair that everyone else feels beholden to them. I also kind of don't know how fair it is to present them to groups before we've actually like said that this is what we're doing, because only three of us have had any say in any of it. Kind of fits in, kind of doesn't fit in. I'm just really conflicted, but I like really want you guys to know that I appreciate you so much and I think this is great and I wish we had surplus at 2 million like the last one did, because I want to do this for you.
Can I just add that like the $32,000 is a lot, but in like hindsight, it's technically $16,000 per club, and if you divide it by the amount of 28 people, it's 14 people. So with like, if we were to each individually pitch, I feel like that $16,000 is very feasible for 14 people to go to LA. Although it's like in a lump sum right now, $32,000 is a lot. I just don't. For me personally, I think that $1,100, like we've cut so much of our costs with like the transportation and the food. And also we've asked all the companies to provide food for us, and some of them will and some of them just don't have the capacity to provide food. And so I think we've taken a lot of costs into consideration, and I totally agree, like finding like your own ride to Eugene Airport is a great way to mitigate some of that cost. But I think looking at it with dividing it into two, if you look at it to two separate clubs, it's $16,000 per club and not $32,000 per club. So I hope that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think you're right. I think part of it, that's a great point. I think that is correct. I do think we should be looking at it like that. That being said, I think there is still the section of like, we specifically like AMA, we know that there's going to be another travel to the East Coast that we're going to have to consider funding. And I do think at that point, there is going to be some kind of like, I know that this will look really, really bad if you guys couldn't go on this, but I also know that if AMA couldn't go to Chicago, they would be disbanded. So like, those are things that I do think need to be considered. I don't know. I'm still really conflicted, but I just want you guys to know, regardless of how I vote, because I'm probably going to decide at the very, very last minute, I just wanted you to know why, and I wanted you to like, know what I'm thinking, and that I just really appreciate you guys. Thank you, I yield.
Peters.
Y'all, first, like shout out, every single thing I told Vivian we were gonna ask questions about, I saw in this presentation. I was so proud. I was like, wow, you hit every single point I said that we were gonna ask about. So that was awesome. The second thing is that you will like fundraising, if any of y'all went to PCM last night, they're starting a new program where they're doing like GoFundMe, but for student orgs. The application is due on the 28th, so that's why I'm bringing it up. It's like a whatever. It's the like UO fundraising department helping student orgs do fundraising. I would highly recommend that you guys sign up for that. I think I would be more in favor of approving this if the number came down a little. And I think right now it's a complicated time for us because we haven't voted our priorities in yet. So it's like some of us are looking at the priorities and using them. We haven't discussed them as a team yet. But I would be more in favor if you guys come back in a couple weeks and you've like been in that program, you're working on that fundraising, and the number is a little bit down. Although, do you have another number besides 32?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, can we hear it?
Yeah.
Could we take a 5-minute break to just kind of coordinate everything
Well,
and after all
like, do you have another number prepared or do you want more time to
have a number prepared, but I think after the really helpful feedback with like the Uber, which we didn't account for, and then potentially food, we want to account for that. So that should be a pretty quick fix on top of the number we have put aside just in case.
Okay.
One quick thing to add on about that. I understand the hesitancy behind. I don't want to fall finger again, but I remember when we talked about this at our meeting together. Biggest thing we wanted to make sure we were doing for your sake as well is being careful about the airline and the lodging prices, just because those are so like volatile. So we just wanted to make sure that we were like getting in before you guys as soon as possible, and just like I guess I also kind of wanted to ask again before the 5-minute break, how if we do get denied tonight, how should we go about like trying to be careful about that? Like possible. Like have you seen others? Well, like lock in a certain price somehow.
It's not possible to lock in a certain price, but because you guys and I trust that you did the like high and lowest, because you did it exactly like that, you should be fine with the airfare at least. And then what's the situation on lodging, or is this things to hash out in a recess?
Oh, okay. Can you repeat your questions?
So lodging, it like with the airfare, that's the highest and lowest average. Is that lodging like a set price, and have you seen it fluctuate over the time that you've been planning this?
So over the 2 to 3 weeks, it hasn't fluctuated very much, but it's hard to say because it's obviously in spring. And we're using Expedia to kind of look at it because Marriott itself, the website, can't tell you those fluctuations. So it's a little hard to say, but with those past 2 weeks, it's kind of been consistent.
Okay, cool. And again, the reason I actually would be in favor of a recess is because I said come to us with a couple different options, and they did everything else that I recommended that they do in that meeting. So I would be more likely to trust what they come back to us with than if it was like they have a plan already. So I yield.
Recess.
Well, how many more people are on primary?
It would go right back to the speakers list, but there's 4 people on the primary list, or 3 people on the primary list.
Okay.
Dr. Rajan.
Yeah, and I'm on the same boat as yours, to Logan, we talked about, I don't know Logan from the gym actually. But I think, you talked about how you had an internship, was it? Yeah. In Singapore, and I was through alumni, so and we had like a conversation about that. I think that's super cool, and it's you're like proof that like well works. And also friends with Scott. I think I'm honestly, for being honest, I really want to fund this, but I also know people have put an effort to go over priorities. So I'm honestly going to defer to y'all when it comes to that stuff. But I'm really hoping that vote yes today. I think Mr. Rachel do your recess, see the new figures. Wait, what?
Let's finish off. We're almost done with the primary list. The Chisholm, the Ludeman, and the recess.
Light show was actually so great, and I love you understood our situation like way more than other clubs because it's been really heartaching to tell a bunch of people that of their situation. I was also thinking of what you said, like when you split it up, it makes way more sense, like 16K for each group. I do still think like we could work with you on to shave off like a couple $100,000, but have a couple questions about your guys' clubs. The first one being for the AMA thing to Chicago, how many total board members do you have? And half of them went on the LA trip, would the other half go or would everybody have to go?
So we have a total of 7 execs and we're splitting it up half and half. So half is going to LA and then the other half is going to Chicago, which is something we've already talked about with our whole board. We totally understand, especially making it cost efficient and then also like equal opportunities to go out of state as well.
Second question is just listening to a bunch of business folks comments on this about stuff. I was just wondering what the demographics of those clubs are.
Yeah.
In terms of like income and race.
In terms of income and race,
Yeah.
we actually haven't looked into that. But what we did do is we took a survey on year level and majors, which is that still applicable?
Yeah, I guess I'm just a little concerned from somebody, I think some of the friends mentioned cutting out. Somebody said, oh, maybe like regardless of their financials, then you'll still consider cutting it. But I just want to make sure that people who are low income have an opportunity to go on this trip, even if they, I don't know, sometimes they have rent could take your whole entire trip. It might not be possible for some students they love. So would that mean that you guys would prioritize only students who could pay for their own food on the day that the companies could pay for?
Sorry, just that's like I can kind of explain the thought process behind the application. Hopefully that kind of works towards the answer. But when we were building the application, I can't really answer your question right now because we might have to rebuild the application if we're going to consider food because we definitely don't want to eliminate those who can't come on the trip just because like they won't be able to afford after brand new. So the thought process behind actually building our application was that we wanted to make sure we gave everyone an even ground. And to be honest, I thought we were actually going to have to tell you guys the application questions as well, so I have it ready. But in the application, we made a special effort to completely like remove any room for bias, any room for someone to mention like, oh, I did this for the club, so you should more prioritize me, or I'm in this situation, you should more prioritize me, or oh, I know people in LA, so you should prioritize me. We kind of cut out all of the spaces able for someone to answer that, and if we made it completely objectively, like, what are you bringing to this trip? How are you going to prepare? And how do you think you can best represent UO's brand? And from there, engage with recruiters and alumni. So by completely removing that bias, we were hoping to make it like completely equitable across all boards, including demographic and income level. But with the new proposal in mind, cutting out food, that's just something we will probably have to think about a little further. Because if we get denied tonight and then we'll have to consider food, we might have to come up with a new way to find level playing field. Those like
Also, in terms of those, like this is somewhat of a sudden shift to say cutting out food as part of the trip, so that's not what we originally forecasted for. But I think that's also you were mentioning a new, I don't remember the exact name, but a new fundraising method, but also types of like a Chipotle fundraiser. I think that could be the direct way to help for this type of problem because at the end of the day, not only do we want to be open to majors, we want to be open to really everyone. I think it's particularly important that people who wouldn't normally have the economic means to go on a trip like this have the opportunity to do so. So we don't have the intentions of cutting out people by equity. I think we need to do more thoughts with the feedback that you've given in order to make this a possibility. But that's something we're really focused on, and we're committed to that type of activity.
And that gets us through the primary list. I feel like this is a great place for the recess, so I'm just gonna call the recess now, 5-minute recess.
The priorities are an internal document.
I was confused by that, because last meeting you still referenced our future priorities.
Because Jordan asked you.
Oh, okay.
Was you. Yes, and I like that we're internalizing them.
It's still outside. Yeah. I don't, not that one. Completely. Well, I tried for misunderstanding the priorities were in.
It's not, I mean, it's a common misunderstanding.
PFC priorities are already.
You have a favorite game?
That's way more than
I like to look up everywhere.
Yeah.
I would read like.
You definitely overhanded, Kayla. You definitely overhanded.
I'm done.
You would have cheated me out of the game, bro.
My head.
That's what I'm saying. I had no choice.
Have a choice.
That would have done me in, bro. That would have done me in.
Yeah. So then they can still do it.
Like I understand. I don't think I'm more. Like, I just be like, sorry, I don't think they asked for to be like, oh, that's like, I, that's my personal opinion. I was just like, I feel like I feel really complicated about like being like crude that you deserve it because of these.
I also just don't think it's any of our business. He said, I want to get them there. I just don't think that that's like any of the business.
Because look, I know they do have. And it's like where you can. Yeah, that's. I asked Adrian, where's the 70K? So this is like genuinely every single thing that I said, have this prepared, they had it prepared, like I was really impressed. Like, it's just so much.
Yes. Well, that's the problem.
It has to be.
Yes, I agree. Because I do care about this places. I wasn't better.
Because I think if they are. They should be talking about it. That's true. Yeah, I think I wanna see that fundraising thing. I already reached out to Cash. Whatever, I should say, I didn't Cash for it and all. But I was. Because again, I know, I said this last time. Here we approved. We said that they came back with tax rate back to start their own again. It's fine, I can't work better. That's.
That was really helpful when I was visioning that.
I don't know. I kind of know what. It's like, and that's, you are not. I have been like, other priorities. Yeah.
No one.
Well, no, it's in my head.
We were just.
But it, I feel like officially, like, everyone has a chance, like, sure, right now, the recommendation is saying $1,000 per person. But then they could say, we want to do $5,000 per person. And in fact, voted on, then that's the priority. So there's really no, sometimes.
Even if there are.
Well, yeah, what?
the document that we here.
They should make that a thing.
Like that's the number that you need to hear.
Yes.
Okay.
I think I ran so.
I think that's.
That's what I was doing, but.
Don't mind me.
That was.
So that's.
Oh, okay.
There's just like, I think I had also at the emphasis stand up diagnosis.
That's a crazy in like. Just a vibe. That's what I'm like. The way.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But also make
Yeah.
I get the thing.
You will like. Trying to find you like non-viable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I got it. Yeah.
Yes, I need to.
If they get below 28.
Speaker Gill. I have a 14-year-old friend.
Great, actually.
Just grab me.
You're gonna go to Paris.
Thank you guys. The new agenda item. There should be a new cost breakdown that hopefully you guys watch. Yeah. Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, before we come and before I talk about the new number that we have, I just want to preface, because I don't think everyone was there for the surplus hearing in the summer that I attended. We were kneecapped because our previous leader did not come and attend the PFC hearing, so we came into the year with no budget. And we were originally a tier 3 organization, and so we received stipends, but because that PFC hearing that the previous leader did not attend, our stipends were cut. And so I just want to preface that like none of the money that we got this summer was allocated towards any site visits, as like Quadrian said, like, it was just to keep us on our feet and like grow our membership, in which we kind of did this year, and like we're only scaling more. So a lot of the programming money is just going towards food right now. Okay, so this is our revised adjusted cost breakdown, and I just want to go off of it based off of per person cost, and that kind of makes a little bit more sense. So like I said before, airfare is just very volatile, and I think keeping it the same is quite honestly the best option at this point, because like we said, we haven't booked the flights yet, and if we were to book it down the road, and let's say it was like more than $500, then we wouldn't have allocated that money. So that kind of stay the same just for the volatility of it all. Lodging, we decided to cut 4 people from the entire trip, downing it to about 24 members. This significantly reduces the lodging cost as we completely mitigate a whole different room. So instead of 7 rooms, we have 6 rooms now. So it was originally $300, but now it's $200 since 4 plus people are going. And we're still staying at the same hotel because it is a central location to all of our sites as well. Transportation, we were able to cut a little bit. We cut down that Uber to the Eugene airport. And so that was our huge one that we were able to cut. But like we said before, going in LA, there is no metro, there is no public transportation. And we already chose many locations to walk to. Like all of our dinner places, all of our lunch places are in walkable distance, either from the hotel or from the site visits. So we kind of had to keep that the same aside from that Uber to Eugene. And then lastly, with food, I think you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but we want to make this a whole equitable process for everyone to come, and we don't want any financial barriers to impact if some people can't come and not. And so we kept it at the same, about $63 per diem, but that's just because also that does cut a lot though in the grand scheme of things, since it's 4 less people, so it's $190 times 4 less. And so we come to a total of pitching for about $25,000. And as you can kind of see, that's kind of how we came to the lodging price. So, like I said, airfare should kind of have to stay the same. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks for taking the time to work all that out. Regardless of the result tonight, you guys have been amazing, so thank you. I'm starting. And then, so we'll start with the secondary list. It's Stevenson. You can start with Stevenson.
I'm gonna yield.
Bailey. If you can't remember, you guys can just yield too. I'm just going off.
Yeah, the only other thing I wanted to say is with the duck funder thing, the LA Ducks, if there's such, oh my God, a large cohort, they should be funding you guys for this trip. This looks, it's a really good trip. It's a really great opportunity. You deserve to get money from this very large group of people, though perhaps in various stages of their careers. That's all I yield.
Can I say something real quick? So with the LA Ducks, like it is a big cohort, but also we don't know how much money they are really bringing in, and that is out of pocket costs within them. And so it's already a huge investment within their time to give us and to invest in us. And so I think that investing like more money from their out of pocket costs, considering that one, LA is an expensive place to live in, and also like two, like I don't know like their lucrative careers. I don't know how much they make. And so it's kind of a lot to be like, hey, can you host us? But also can you, fund us there as well. So
I can actually add on to that. I work for the Career Center, and through the Career Center, we actually engage with the alumni. And one of the background considerations that actually went into LA is, like we mentioned, the fact that they haven't been visited or not kind of like directly connected with in a while. So the hope of this is kind of subconsciously that when the business school does start to engage with them to try and bring in fundraising or try and bring in more opportunities in the future, they can look back and say, hey, we're going to have like an AMA visited us and like actually put your best foot forward, connecting with us, and like when we're actually there, we're planning on like talking all about it to them and saying like, which you guys were engaged with more. That's why we wanted to engage with you. Hopefully by like, and that's kind of what I meant by like the whole slideshow. Hopefully by kind of breaking the ice this year, it kind of opens up doors for like future opportunities maybe next year or like whoever comes after like us for the years to come with LA. But really it's all about this right now. Like it said, it seems like a bit much of an ask to ask them to fund even though they haven't been contacted in years. But hopefully by breaking the ice now, that can become something we can hopefully pass down to the next like gen of leaders to actually like tap into. So that's something I wanted to clarify.
I also just want to preface that like we're asking them for a favor, they're not asking us for a favor. So it's like we to ask them to invest so much of their time and then also ask for money, it's like they're gonna look at us and be like, we are already doing you guys a huge favor with setting this up. So why would we even provide more out of money out of our own pocket to fund you guys?
Very you. I might have already you. Okay. I just want to say don't downplay yourselves as like students and as like organizers. I mean, this trip took a lot of effort. You put a lot of time into it. You have reached out like very strategically to these groups of people. You might be younger, have like less career experience, but that doesn't make you worth less. And if anything, it makes you worth, I don't know, a little more. Just because of the amount of time and effort and energy. And I don't know, being housed, this is, for future trips. Obviously, you don't have the relationship quite built yet, but yeah, having contacts down there to cut down on costs of like housing would help a lot. But yeah, you guys deserve money and you deserve to be able to ask more money. That's all I'll say. I yield.
Fisher, then O'Neill.
Hi again. Thank you guys so much. I saw you were really locked in. Working on that number out there. So thank you so much for this. I think this looks a lot better. For me personally, like I would feel more confident funding this. Thank you for making the considerations and bringing the number of people down. That's great. Can you just quickly remind me again what the transportation cost is for?
Yeah. So we mentioned previously that there isn't like really any infrastructure for public transportation in Los Angeles. It's like notoriously bad. And while we do have a couple of the site visits and within walking distance, CAA, the Creative Arts Agency, which is where we're having the mixer as well, is within walking distance of our hotel. Places like NBC Universal are far enough away where even if we did take public transportation, it would take away from the time that we're allowed to spend at these companies, which would sort of be a negative to the entire trip. And so it's coming from Ubers and Lyfts because that is the only sort of transportation that seemed feasible for us, as there's no real transportation other than that in LA that would like get us there without having to get cars.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that was for like Uber and stuff. I have another question, but I forgot it. So thank you so much. Yield.
Senator O'Neill.
Okay, yes.
I will say this number does look quite a lot better, 24K. I personally just think that I wouldn't be comfortable funding it unless it was 10K or less per org, simply because that's just what I like. And that's just how I feel like it would make sense to me. I do think a lot more people are probably going to vote for this now, though. However, one thing that I did want to say was that I remember when Women in Business came, the way that I heard the conversation going was they were not given the same sort of opportunity to amend their specific trip. I was just rereading the minutes, and Senator Nagarajan was the only person who mentioned coming to a compromise, and I just don't like this. I feel as if this is a bit of a discrepancy. I think that obviously when during that time I was advocating for women in business to focus on local things in the same manner that I am advocating for these two groups to focus on campus things. When I say local, on campus things, on campus events. And I just think that during the women in business situation, I felt as if a lot more people were saying things such as, dictating what they were meant to do, but we're being a lot more open to them rebuilding theirs on the floor right now. And so that's just something that I would like to point out, and why I'm still holding my position that I will vote no on this number. And also, I do think that AMA, since they will be going on another trip, I do think that this would be their third conference, like the second conference, then a third one later on in the year.
No, this will be our first conference.
First conference, yeah. Okay, and then the second one later on in the year.
Yes.
Okay, I just, I don't think that orgs should have multiple conferences. That's just my opinion, unless it's surely required. So I also do think that is a bit unfair. International Business and Economics Club, y'all, this is your one conference. I would be a lot more open to funding this if it was more so for International Business and Economics Club, if it was split in a different way, not equal. But yes, that is my stance on the matter. I yield.
Okay, here's my thing. I will say, in terms of the women in business situation, I think part of that reason is because they did this last year, where they requested a big amount of money and then fixed it on the floor, and then had to come back and request more and more money. And so I think that was just like a trust thing, but that's what happened there. I appreciate that you guys put so much work into making this number smaller. I know that Speaker Gill said that it is a slippery slope to like say that they're gonna do fundraising later. And I do believe that. I'm gonna do something I don't think I'm ever gonna do ever again. If you promise that you will do fundraising, I'm gonna vote yes on this. But you have to promise me that you're gonna try the fundraising at least through the university.
If it helps, and I think it will. I don't have the screenshots obviously, but I do have already Chipotle signed up for our week 10. We're looking into the Krispy Kreme that came in an email. We're looking at Panda Express. It's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and it's already labeled as like study with us.
Yeah.
And we'll help, not really, but technically like help us, and we'll kind of help you during your finals and feed you.
Yeah.
So if that helps, we already have a plan set up.
That is helpful. I'm mainly thinking about the university one that Senator Peters talked about. That's really what I'm thinking about.
Okay. That sounds like a great idea.
But I really trust you guys. Okay. I really trust you guys, and I think you put a lot of work into this. And it like hurts my heart so much, but I'm like 75% yes. I yield.
Yeah, I'm on the fundraising bandwagon. I think that we could kind of I think the food is where some of us are getting hung up, and so fundraising could chip away even a little bit of that. It would make us all more comfortable. But I think this new number is really reasonable. This is 4 networking trips in one go. You're meeting 4 different companies. You've cut down on the number of people. This number is looking great. I think that we have as a Senate, we funded more for less. So I want to make the motion and get this onto the floor. But first, I need a line item because the engage form does not have that. It just says X.
Work massage.
Okay. Do you know what the line item would be, or do we need to check on our end?
So
Yeah, each of our clubs in our ledger has a site visit line item, both in IBEC and AMAs. It wasn't mentioned on the form at all.
Are we
Okay.
allowed to make a new one?
Yes.
That might be a better idea, frankly. I think we might do that.
Let's make a new line item of conference.
Yes, please.
Okay, so new line item just for conference, and then are you looking to split this money into each group?
It needs to go into one group.
Okay, so it just goes to one group and we have it set up for the IBEC.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so one line item for IBEC?
Yeah, and I'm just gonna name it conference.
Sounds great. Sure.
Okay, cool. I move to authorize spending from surplus to Group International Business and Economics Club, OS number OS 136, in the amount of $24,216 to new line item conference.
Second. Motion made by Questenberry, seconded by Perez. We now have a
Sorry,
motion on the floor.
excuse me, the index numbers got switched.
That's our, that's AMA.
That is AMA.
IBEX is OS 120I.
All right, let's do this again. I move to authorize spending from surplus to Group International Business and Economics Club, OS number OS 120I, in the amount of $24,216 to new line item conference.
Second, Perez. Motion made by Questenberry, seconded by Perez, and discussion will continue with Stevenson and O'Neill.
I was going to make the motion, but it's been made. I feel like we should just, obviously everyone's gonna have their time. We should vote on it. Thank you, Ayu.
Someone, if anyone wants, you can call the question, which will start a vote on whether to end debate, but then we would go for the motion. So Chisholm hopped on the primary list, so Senator Chisholm.
A number I feel a lot better with. I still would want it a little bit lower just personally. I noticed we limit like groups in the past to only 20 people per retreat. So with 24 and supporting business students, I also heard that like a lot of money goes to bids like and I would actually love to talk to like her. But Aaron Litterman, who represents the business school, figure out how we can make this better because like just in the business school for fundraising, but I would just want it a little lower. I'm not talking about I think I was going to vote a little bit more less. I yield.
I wanted to speak to that really quick. It's interesting just friends to me. I'm also kind of in that same boat where I think it's just a little bit too high according to my priorities. I am currently working with women in business to find fundraising to help lower their amount for their site visit as well. So if that is something you're interested in.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly respond to Senator Fisher, who brought up, how women in business in the past has done the same thing. I just don't think that's a fair standard to hold orgs to simply because it's new leadership every year. That's literally it. I yield.
Yeah, I guess for the AMA people, can you just tell me a little bit more about like this other conference that you're going to have to go here? It's in Chicago, right?
Yeah, so since we just got reaffiliated with our national chapter, it is a requirement, but the amount of people that go isn't set in stone, so it could be anywhere from 7 to 20, however budgeting falls. But we are also competing this year since we launched our first experiment and we just launched our case competition team. So we're gonna be competing in 4 different competitions this year on top of just attending the required national conference as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Ayu.
Senator Bailey.
How do I do the call the question thing?
You just said call the question. I called the question. All right, so that means we're gonna vote on whether to end the debate right now. This is a vote on whether to end debate right now. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. All right, debate is over. We will now move to vote on the request from AMF. Perez. Aye. Peters.
Nay.
Fisher.
Aye.
O'Neill.
Nay.
Neal.
Say nay.
Taylor. Nay. Smith. Hopperday. Heffernan. Ahmed DFA. Chisholm. Nagarajan. Aye. Stevenson.
I think that it's really good that you guys were able to come
Here, Tyler, you have to vote.
well, I mean, just to say and explain for this club, I really appreciate the number. It's still nay. Thank you.
Yes.
My bad.
Withers.
Nay.
Bailey.
Nay.
Fisher.
Can't abstain. Yes, because it's not gonna pass anyway.
Western.
Aye.
Udall. And I say nay. Thank you guys so much for coming. We appreciate it.
Just letting you know that I'd love to work with you guys on the fundraising. Really want to make this happen.
You get it down below 10K, I'll vote yes. 10K each.
Truly.
Probably like.
All right, and returning to order, we already took our recess, so we're gonna recess, it's on the agenda. Moving into discussion, I just put the budget timeline up here. I just wanted to leave it up here for people to look at, and if anybody has any questions about what's upcoming, please feel free to say something. This is a discussion about the upcoming budget season, and essentially next week, what's going to happen is benchmarks. So all of the committees here have been working to compile their budgets for budget season. It's an outline right now of what that looks like, and they're going to bring that here, present it to all of us, where we get to pick it apart and make our choices on what we want to see in the benchmarks. And each committee will kind of give a statement as to why they've allocated what they've allocated and what. And then the exec branch will also be coming, and they have a recommendation for all of the ASUO that they put forward. And so we'll be comparing those two and deciding what we want our budget to look like. Anybody have questions about the process at all?
I also just put the document in ASUO chat, Senate chat.
Not accessible for everyone. I apologize for that, but it's accessible now. And we can kind of leave this up as we go through, like updates to Senator Smith.
So I know like everyone from all the committees not usually here is coming. And like when we talk about this, is it Robert's rules stuff? Okay, it is.
We'll be working on Robert's rules. If a committee does need to like leave to go work their stuff, like work something out, senators could go away with their committees and the committees will come back to their body. But this is benchmark, so like it's not, once we agree on this, we're not bound to it, but this is the beginning of that process of like having a layout of what the budget will even look like here.
And then the question is, does exec present theirs first?
Yeah, exec will present theirs first, which will kind of like set the scene for the conversation, but then the committees, when they present, that gets compared and contrasted. But what the committees say is really what gets approved, because we have the final say over all this. But exec can also veto what we do eventually pass. So it is a collaborative effort, but we do get the final say. Brennan.
Yeah, I just wanted I was kind of gonna ask the same thing. I was wondering if in USAC's presentation, are they gonna kind of go over how that conversation is gonna go? Because like, are we going down line item, or I guess in my case, department by department, looking at budget, they ask questions. How does this work?
Yeah, so the way I see it right now is the budget spreadsheet we've been working off of for each committee will be up here. So if you see up, people can see every line item that DFC contributes to, like duck rides, the accessibility center, planning center. And then you'll see what was allocated this year by this year's DFC, and you'll see the past allocations. So you'll be able to see how much they decided to increase it or decrease it by percentage and number. And that's when you could be like, hey, DFC, I really like this thing, and it looks like you're defunding it. Like, why did you guys make that decision? And that's the type of conversation that comes off of that.
Thank you.
And if memory serves, we don't vote, we vote all at the end, or do we vote one at a time? Or how are you going to do that? One at a time? Okay, gotcha. Is that like mandatory, or could we do like, or like exec goes first and then we vote on exec and then PFC goes and vote on PFC? Or is we hear them all first. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, that's what I. And then exec's just a little bit about exec. Exec is all three finance. What think how much money?
And then with tomorrow or with next week too, we probably realistically won't vote next week. We'll probably start this conversation and go on for a long time talking about it, then have that week away from Senate to continue this conversation. Then we'll all come back 2 weeks from now, continue the conversation, then vote that night. And that's when benchmarks will be solidified. And I think it'll work presentation exec, and then we'll work away PFC, CFC, DFC. And then after that, we can have a conversation about each one. And then there'll be like a more holistic conversation when we see the compare and contrast. Stevenson.
As a side note, AC, we didn't have a budget last year and we did a surplus request for the academic fair, right? Senator Perez, did you have any questions or comments for the people that did that last year? You were saying that you wanted to shift that potentially, or no?
Yeah, I'm doing a budget request for Senate for next year. And one of the things I was gonna like look at was academic committee budget. I talked to Julie, looking at the ledger, it looked like it was around like 700-ish, so no more than 1,000. I just wasn't sure if anybody here was able to attest to that. Just based off of what Priscilla requested last year, there's all like administrative stuff like office supplies and little stuff that we could definitely move stuff out of there and then put it towards the academic committee budget. So yeah.
So the surplus request was only like a couple hundred, but when we had the petting zoo for the academic fair, and that was paid for through exec's budget because we had to do like a PO for a service contract. And since academic committee doesn't have a budget, we were able to do a surplus request in time. So that portion was through exec, but it's like since we shared money, kind of, it was like okay. And then we just did the additional through surplus. But that was how. I don't have the exact number, but I can find it and then I.
Thank you, IU.
Yeah, there isn't any more questions. We'll move on to our updates and stuff. But with academic committee too, I'll probably be coming next meeting to talk about budget season and stuff too, because you guys are important folks and all, because you are like the impartial people that are in any committee. So it's important for you all to be incorporated.
Got a few people coming next meeting to talk about their different committees.
Oh, yeah, move forward. And moving into updates now, we'll start with the Program Finance Committee Chair, Senator Peterson.
Super exciting week, y'all. The budget form is due on Friday at 5 p.m. If you are in a student org or if you know someone in a student org, make sure that they get it in. Additionally, we just agreed today, if you know a student org that has not heard from us, has not received any emails from us in any way, or has received very minimal communication, we agreed that they can have a week extension. But like besides like a mistake on our part, or like late tag assignments, things like that this Friday is a hard deadline. And then next week on Monday at 6 p.m. we get to start budget hearings. So exciting. So 3 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 6 p.m. right here in the EMU. We have budget hearings. You want to come join us? I have to go to every single one. So don't you guys want to come? I think you have to come to some of ours. Yeah, so come join us. It'll be so fun. They're gonna be 30 minutes each per student org. I'm sending out the sign up like as soon as we leave this room for student orgs. Yeah, so big exciting week for PFC. We're super pumped to get into our budget hearings. Yeah, if you have any like concerns about specific student orgs, because I know that happens, come chat. Okay, I yield.
Contracts Finance Committee Vice Chair, Senator Taylor.
We've had a really busy week or weeks at CFC. All of our providers submitted their forms. So we are now having fully up-to-date projection. We were working really hard on producing a lot of our providers' requests. We're receiving surveys from Portland campus for a Newburgh expansion, and childcare RFP is now the legal team. We're going to work that over. Yeah, you could also be getting sometime next week. I will send out a sheet with all of the changes we made to the childcare contract. If you guys are interested. Go ahead.
In Department's Finance Committee Chair, Senator Humphrey.
Yeah, we are also very grateful to all of the departments. They got all of theirs in on time as well, which was really big. Yeah, we met this week and we started crafting what we would like our benchmark to look like. Similarly, we're having to knock down some numbers, so that means meeting with some departments in the upcoming week or bring it to Senate. So yeah, we'll do it and lots of meetings to come. So yeah, I yield.
Moving into the Senate executive updates, we'll start with Academic Chair Stevenson.
Hello, everyone. I thank you to everyone that came to the last AC meeting on Tuesday. It was by far, at least in my opinion, our most productive one. Everyone answered the warm-up question. It was so nice. I met with Blaze today, and I'm meeting with Andrew Descharme on Friday to talk about class wraps that people in AC could be doing potentially for different events, or just to let the people in your classes or in your specific major know who you are and put a face to a name. Those are like the general gist. I yield to Senator Kayla Fisher. Did you wait? Where is that? Oh, but yeah, everyone came in and spoke about the different projects they're doing. Senator Bailey and Senator Fisher, obviously, with their different projects, if you guys haven't heard. But yeah, thank you so much. I yield.
Person Heffernan.
So congratulations. Everybody made office hours last week. Yeah. Great paper and everything. It was green across the board. I love to see it. Next thing is I sent out a quiz on parliamentary procedure. This is part of your Senate training. You have to complete this quiz in order to be senator. Do it. It is due by the time Senate starts next week. You have a week to do it. You have to get, I think I said it above like 80%, 70%. It's in the Teams chat. You can retake it as many times as you want, but take it until you get it right. Yes, Kayla.
Not to be like so crazy annoying. Is there a way, like it's just gonna get lost in the team chat? Is there a way to like mail it or something?
Yeah, I can mail it out.
Find it.
Yeah, that's fine.
I appreciate it.
I can do that. if I will keep that in mind and do that for the people ones, if that is gonna cost for you guys. Yes, I can do that. I did that for him. I would have.
The floor, so.
Well, it's the question for me or for Quadrian?
It's not a question, it's that Quadrian sent out the link and it's it says quiz or training number 8 and in it, it's the link for the parliamentary procedural mini quiz unless it's a different thing.
I don't think I sent out. I think Olivia sent out.
What? I sent it like at 6:30 today.
Okay.
PM. Email it. Yeah, I will email it right now. I don't know.
There's your quiz. Like I said earlier, I'm gonna be doing the budget request for cited. The only thing to really account for is that we had academic committee budget to that, and also just adjusting to the new stipend model for next year. I talked to Nicole advertising, making a little bit about this, but I want to go over with academic committee on how to go over a surplus request. It might be a little overdue, but I've been trying to find the right time. Because the finance committee is like, we have tags and stuff, so we have a lot of like contact with boards and stuff about like finances. So I just want to go over with you guys, make sure if you guys are in the suite and someone comes in and wants to do a surplus request, just that you guys are like comfortable with it. It should be very brief and just kind of like straightforward, just to kind of go over like the basic stuff, so you guys like feel comfortable with doing it. Rules committee meeting this Friday at 3, so pop out. It's gonna be huge. Ideally. Thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I did the trainings out of order. You're supposed to do the quiz and like learning on the surplus meetings this week, but I did them out of order. So thank you for offering that service, and that will be out next week. Deal.
I know, Kayla, so we can talk about the consent, but I also think like if you want to beforehand, that'd be great too, because then we can figure out some ideas.
I can keep track of comments.
Yes, thank you. So your quizzes, I don't understand. I don't have words.
And then for my update, I was mostly going to talk about budget. We kind of just did. I've been working with the chairs. We're setting benchmarks. UO Senate is fully underway. All of us that are on UO Senate have been attending those meetings. I'm on the exec committee, and I give an update to the UO Senate and the school president and all those things. So if anybody has anything you want me to say to UO Senate or school president, please let me know. I will say those things. And then also, those of you that are on external committees, you should have gotten email by now from like Sandy Weintraub, because all those have slowly started. If not, please reach out to me and I'll connect with Sandy and try to make it feel more connected, because they're making it feel segmented in US Senate. Oh, and the lead branch picture day. That has been a struggle to plan. So I'm going to plan it far in advance. I think I'm going to schedule it like the second week of October, or maybe second week of October. Or November. And then hopefully, and then I'll send out a time pool that kind of just asks what day you're available. I'll send out a day and then cross our fingers. And that's it for my updates. Moving on to the executive branch, VP Acting.
Very much. Alrighty, street fair happened in PCM last night. That was last night, right? Yep. Alrighty, time. Shout out to Cash Kowalski and all the Department of Engagement for putting on those two events. They're champions. And thank you to all those who volunteered at street fair. And thank you to the many folks here who presented at the PCM. We really appreciate it. There is a State of the Union Town Hall November 5th, 5:30 to 7:30. At the moment, an eye on that. Yeah, just keep an eye on that. A lot of things happen November 5th at 5:30 to 7:30. including the night safety walk, which is 5:30 to 7, also November 5th. And that is also the night we're voting on benchmarks. So, like I said, a lot of things happening November 5th. If you want to be part of the student tickets working group, it's something Zach is on. Reach out to Cash. And then finally, student planning construction committee bylaws have been approved, and I am the chair. Wonderful. It's also my birthday on November.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are updates for the day. I'll put 2 minutes on the agenda next week. I seem to forget to do that a lot, so. No minutes this week, then is someone want to motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second, Fisher.
Motion made by Perez, seconded by Fisher. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. And we are adjourned.
Bye.